Guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of the ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
All right, people, write something on the board. Let's spell it. First letter.
L O G.
What's that? What?
It's time. It's time to have real, honest, open, difficult, and inspiring conversations. It's time for Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Well, hello there, family. Happy Wednesday to you and welcome. Welcome to Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick, right here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. So here we are. We're in the middle of the week. We're always happy to have you join us. That's Nick and I. We're always grateful to spend some time with each and every one of you, as you all know, you know. So how's the week going so far? How are you making out this week? How are things coming along with and for you? I hope well. And so, family, for those of you who are new to the show, what I like to do is a check-in. So let me know that you're out there. Let us know that you will be joining not that you will be, but that you're out there available to join the conversation if you so choose to do so. If you're on our socials, let us know or send us a hello. We'll take that too. We love all the love that you share. For those of you who are near your phones or want to call in, you can do that. And you can do that by dialing 215-634-8065, or you can call us toll free at 1-866-361-0900. We love all the love, like I said. And if you're simply listening, we can feel the love that you are sharing and sending to us. And it's always felt and is greatly appreciated. I just want you to know that I'm sending some extra love and hugs I'm sending it to everybody as always. But to those of you whose light is shining just a little dimly today, I'm sending you extra. And especially to those of our family members who might be navigating a loss, sending them extra to you as well. And I want you to know that you're not alone. Do you hear me? You are not alone. And on the other end of the rainbow, if today is your birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Family, last week on Founders Day, August 18th, WURD Radio acknowledged 5 members of the community as part of our celebration of the life and legacy of Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD. The 2023 WURD Community Impact Award recipients are Mika Johnson, CEO of All Black Everything Pop-Up, Dr. Delana Wardlaw, and Dr. Ilana McDonald of the Twin Sister Ducks, Jasmine A. Smith, founder and CEO of Icons Sports League, Reverend Dr. Andy Jenkins, and our very own Troy Wilmore. technical production manager, radio show producer, and remote broadcast engineer. So, family, mark your calendars and tune in to WURD on Monday, September 4th from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. to hear the Community Impact Award recipients share their life's journey and groove to the playlist that represents the soundtrack to their lives. WURD Radio is proud to support and acknowledge those who work tirelessly to uplift our community. Congratulations to all of the 2023 WURD Community Impact Award recipients. So I want to take a moment to go to our socials. Some of our family members are checking in. Malcolm, hey there, brother Malcolm. Malcolm shares that he's watching and listening from West Mount Airy. A good evening to you too, good brother. Nasir, brother Nasir, hey there. Always happy to know that you're here too. He's sharing a good evening with us all, and peace and blessings. Oh, you'll see me tomorrow. Oh, yes. Danny is sending a hello and a thanks for extra love. Always. You hear me? Always. You know what? I'm so looking forward to. Well, okay. Let me see what Nasir's talking about. So I won't be with you here tomorrow, live or in real time, I should say. I have a gig tomorrow at the Dell. For those of you who are unaware, I'm going to be at the Dell Music Center tomorrow, Thursday, August 24th. It's me, David Hollister, and the OJs. I am so looking forward to tomorrow. And I really, really hope that I get to see you all as well. I hope you come and say hi to me, because y'all know I'm going to be looking for you so I can say hello. I'm going to be looking. I sure am. And I want to know if you are a part of the Love and Life family, the WURD family, the Love and Life family. I want to know it all. You know I do. So, family, listen. Yesterday we had some conversations going. We were talking about a few things, and one of the conversations was a conversation that it's a continuing conversation. We were talking about gun violence. We were talking about our kids. We were talking about what's happening, in our good city of Philadelphia and what we can do. Now, let me say, I do not have a solution for any of what is happening, but it is my prayer and it is my hope that through continued conversation and discussion that we can come up with something. That's my hope. That's my prayer. So I'm hopeful. So I'm open to the discussion. And to that point, I also want to invite Brother Tyrone. If you are listening, you tell Jonathan that I want to talk with him. I want to invite him to come on so we can talk about some things. I think that'd be a good idea. But in the meantime, I want to talk to you, see what you're thinking and how you're feeling about some things. I was looking at the news today, y'all, and well, actually, I wasn't. I was reading. There are so many things taking place in our schools across this country. Now, I'm going to, share with you some things that are going on in the country that just, you know what? I won't even share what I'm thinking or feeling first. I'll share what I read. So I read that a Florida elementary school isolated a number of Black students, pulling them out of class and forcing them to attend an assembly about improving standardized test scores. According to Fox 35, fourth and fifth grade students at Bunnell Elementary School in Flagler County, Florida, were taken out of class earlier this month for an assembly in the cafeteria without their parents' knowledge. Now, okay. I want to know what you think and how you feel. I want you to talk to me. This other story I want to share with you. It reads, a third grade teacher was arrested for allegedly being drunk on the job during the first day of school after she was pulled out of the classroom for her off behavior. Kimberly Coates, 53, was found to be 3 times over the legal limit while teaching students last Thursday at the Perkins Tryon Intermediate School in Perkins, Oklahoma. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. What is happening? What is happening? Now I know, listen, I know we're dealing with enough as it is in Philadelphia. All over the country, all over the country, our babies are being affected. I want to know what you think and how you feel. Again, feel free to comment on our socials, but you can also give me a call. And you can do that by dialing 215-634-8065, or you can call me toll free at 1-866-361-0900. Hi there, Scott. Scott Wilson is joining us. He's sending a good evening. Good evening to you as well. And thank you for that love from Kansas City. All right. All right. Scott, I just realized. Hey, Scott. And Chris Abbott. Hey, Chris. Chris is joining us as well. Family, let me know what you're thinking and how you're feeling about what I just shared. In the meantime, I'm going to go to our phone lines and talk to some of our family members that have been waiting to join the conversation. I believe we have Ron. Is that Ron? Is that you?
Yes, I'm here. And I
Hi,
want you to
Ron.
listen to what I'm about to say. I just came back from Millersville early today. I know a lot of people out of there, families that have property up there in Millersville. They live something like Quakers. And one of the persons that I've been knowing for the early 50s, they from Moxie, Mississippi, and they're going to migrate here. And they're very in tune with Imam Isa. They have that in the bloodline. I'm saying all this to say what I'm about to say to you.
Okay.
What you said yesterday, when the gentleman was saying, well, you need to do this, and you was talking about them children.
Yes.
And I've heard you say that since I have heard your voice say that. That's one of the things I was attracted to, because when I hear you talk about them, I'll have a reflection back on my life. And what you did yesterday, beloved, you have a nice tone voice. You took your voice, went to a very abrupt, but with dignity with it, as you was expressing yourself about your consistency in reference to that particular initiative that you have been taking on, even with all your education that you have. To take on something like that, to me, it means so much. And one day, and I want everybody to hear what Ryan is about to say now, and I hope you're listening. What I'm going to share with you, Cal Riddick, I'm going to share with you, you'll carry it for the rest of your life. And because I told you this before, I have rearranged words for you, not exploitation, or not some bogardash or some foolishness like that. You will always look at me in a different light. What do I mean by that? How did this man, this person that have been speaking with me since you've been on the air, how is this man without any institution indoctrination? How does this man have such wisdom and knowledge? And to go into depth for what he's sharing with you, it's going to be in your psyche. And I'm not talking taking anyone for granted. That I don't do. You would look at me in a different light until you leave this world. And I hope it be 100 years after I say that, whenever the privilege are extended to me. I am extremely, extremely blessed and intelligent on things. I speak on things that come out of the book of life with sense. And I'm very, this is what I am attracted to you, beloved. Not because of any, as I mentioned before, and I don't mean to sound repetitious either, your look or anything like that, or because you whatever. It is your beauty and sincere from within what I gather. Can't nobody run nothing on me, and I'm glad that God made it that way. So what I'm saying to you, Cal Riddick, and the listening audience, family, and everyone, when I share this with you, it would be up to your discretion, visionary discretion, and verbal discretion if you want to share that. You'll never forget, because I'm saying this, and I'm not talking on emotion. I'm having a spiritual, down through the years, uplifting. You will never forget this, because no one, and I'm taking it, let me say, I say it like this. You've never heard anybody say what I'm going to say to you. Only the female knows this, what I'm going to say. And this is why the Lord probably let me, because of your compassion, your sensitivity. I will say this. I'm extremely intuitive. You would have to say, this guy here, this guy, Ronald Armour, to be so intuitive, to speak to me like that, and to share that with me. You'll never forget it. Thank you for letting me speak with you, beloved. It is behind any other tangible things of life. So thank you, but continue to speak for the children. And remember, you was young once, and all of us was young once, and the young becomes the old. And this would be your gift, is help and strength. This is my hope, not my wish. And you continue to do that. Nobody know who to comfort you. I'm talking about not in some of your relationship. Who comforts Carol that have all this that she have achieved in this centric society and share? Or I bear witness that I am a caring person. Thank you, Cal. And continue to do it. I was getting ready to talk this morning, and I find that, and I was just about to share about what Cal was saying last night, as I have been very consistent. Seems like some other people, they don't want to hear that, but that's all right. But it was you to hear from me. Thank you, beloved. No foolishness. Whoever cares about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Ron. Ron, I want to thank you first and foremost for your kindness and for your positivity and for always expressing love when you call the show. But I also want to thank you for addressing the conversation that took place last night. Listen, family, I'm going to be honest with you. Well, I always am, but I'm going to share with you. I will say that my spirit was so vexed, not by the conversation itself, because that's why we're here. I want us to communicate, and I believe communication is key. But my spirit was so vexed last night because I felt, you all know how emotional and passionate I am about our babies. I talk to you about them all the time, all the time, all the time. And at the same time, I want to make sure that, we are, there is an exchange of dialogue. And my spirit was vexed because I wasn't sure that that was what took place last night, because I had become, I was so passionate in my delivery. So thank you for addressing that conversation, Ron. And again, I do share with you that the conversation is one that I want to continue, that I believe is necessary to continue, because I say this to you all the time. We're all in this together, and we are. I say it because I mean it. I believe it. I feel it. I think it. That's what it is. For me, that's what it is. We are all in this together. And it's always my hope that when we come here in this space from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Love and Life, is always my hope, and it's always my prayer that we can be open with one another. We can be transparent with one another, and that we can communicate and hear one another and respond, but with respect and not in an extremely emotional place. And I believe I did that last night. I was so emotional about what we're talking about, and so thank you, Ron, for addressing that, for mentioning it, for bringing it up, because I couldn't wait to talk with you all about it. If you were with us last night, I am definitely anxious to know your thoughts about the conversation that took place. I definitely want to know what you think and how you feel. In the meantime, Alfred is joining us on our socials, and he's saying hello. Alfred Evans, hi there, listening from Chicago. Hey, Chi-Town. I think I'm going to be with you all soon. I'm going to be coming to Chi-Town soon. Always happy to have all of you here. What I want to do, though, is to continue some of the headlines that are in the news, and I want to talk about them. I want to share what's in the news, and I want to talk about it. That's what I want to do. That's what we're going to do for this first hour tonight. Let's talk about some things. I think it's always good to do that. So I don't know if you saw this storyline, but a man and a woman exchanged gunfire when police say a female carjacking victim turned the tables on an armed suspect and pulled out her own weapon. So right here in Philadelphia, at a gas station, there was an attempted carjacking, and the woman pulled out her own weapon, and there was a shootout. Y'all, Tell me what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Our socials, you can comment on our socials or you can give us a call. You can do that 215-634-8065, or you can call us toll free at 1-866-361-0900. And remember, I still want to know if you were with us last night. I want to know what you think and how you're feeling about the conversation that took place last night in the first hour, I should say, in the first hour. But in the meantime, stay with us, family. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery right here on WURD Radio.
After I lost my mom, I lost my way. Then I found youth advocate programs, yet behavioral health services.
As a little kid, I made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
YAP gives communities alternatives to residential care, youth incarceration, and neighborhood violence. After completing our program, nearly 90% of participants remain in their community. YAP works.
I'm working towards a bright future.
Youth advocate programs. Others talk social change. We make it happen. Learn more at yapinc.org.
I'm Carol Riddick, the host of Love and Life. And guess what, family? I will be live. That's right. I can speak with you about the real facts and honest opinions on dating, sexual health, casual and committed relationships. Join me Monday through Thursday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. The conversations will be served on a judgment-free platter and seasoned with unapologetic realness. So join me Monday through Thursday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor. Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
This is your celebration.
I'm Nehemiah Cotton from Babashi Transition to Hope, and I want to wish WURD a happy 20th anniversary. We thank you for all of your help, your support to Babashi. You've meant the world to us. You've been a great partner, and to many more.
I'm Sabrina Tate from Babashi Transition to Hope, and I want to wish WURD a happy 20th anniversary. Thanks for so many years of allowing people to have a voice who have been muted for decades. Happy anniversary.
I'm Rochelle Rogers, Pico, and I want to wish WURD a happy 20th anniversary. Thank you, WURD, for uplifting the Black community and sharing our stories.
We're celebrating 20 years of progressive Black Talk Media. You're listening to Love and Life with Carol Riddick on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
And we are back. Welcome back, family, to Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick, right here on Love and Life on WURD. So we are talking about what's going on, what's in the news. I've been asking you what you think and how you feel. So now I know some of our family members were here in the first hour last night. Malcolm, Nasir. I know you guys were here. I'm curious to know what you think. Hey there, Raphael. Raphael Suleiman is checking in. Good evening to you. Those of you who were with us last night in the first hour, I'm curious to know what you thought about that conversation. I want to go back to the news because I was sharing with you that I saw a lot of stories that were about things that had taken place in our schools, you know, and I don't know if you all saw this headline, but it reads, classes were canceled last Thursday at an Austin, Texas high school after the body of an 11th grade student was found on campus. The New York Post reports that the body of the female student was found hanging from a tree. near the rear of the Travis Early College High School building. Staff members discovered the body Thursday morning on what would have been the fourth day of school in the Austin Independent School District. I just don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't know what I know I say it, and when I do say it to y'all, I know I say we're at, this we're dealing with spiritual warfare, and I say it and I mean it when I say it, but every single time I read something like this or something else happens, it hits hard. It hits so hard. It hits so hard. It hits so hard. But here we are. Here we are. So again, I'm curious to know what you think and how you feel. Join the conversation. Another headline that I read is that New Jersey will require school districts to offer free menstrual products for grades 6 through 12 under a new law that Governor Phil Murphy signed on Wednesday. Well, on today, actually. Murphy, a Democrat, said in a statement that the measure is aimed at promoting equity at every level in the state. I am happy to read that, but for the life of me, I don't know why I thought this was already taking place. I already thought that there were menstrual products in our schools. I don't know how I missed that. Well, I know how I missed that because there are always teacher bathrooms, teacher areas. So I've always missed that. But I for some reason, I just thought that we had them in the schools already. I'm going to take a moment to go to our socials. So Heather, hey there. Hey, Heather. Heather's joining us. Thank you, Heather, for joining us. Nasir shares. Thank you for that, Nasir. I was curious to know because I just want to take temperature. Nasir was sharing what his opinion about the conversation that took place last night. Family, I'm still a little shaken. I'm trying to share different things that are going on, but I'm a lot shaken actually by that story. But let's go to the phone lines. I believe we have Chris waiting to talk with us. Chris, are you still there?
Hi, Kara. How are you?
Hello, Chris. I am well, thank you. How are you?
All right. Long time no hear from. I know we've grown up in Philadelphia together, and known you since elementary days.
Oh, Chris! Oh my! Hi, Chris. Chris Abbott. I was like, who? What? Hi, Chris.
Hi. I'm gonna make it short and sweet because I know you have a long show, and I'm just joining for the first time. I wish I was on last night, and I am now going to start listening and watching you on YouTube. So to the point, we come from Generation X, and in our schools back then, the parents were involved. We had our parents come to school. We had, Marie and Stan, we had First African Baptist Church who adopted the school. We used to go over there and sit with some of the elders. This is an epidemic that we have in our schools now because of this new generation, how things are going. I'm a firm believer that we have a lack of parent participation, not only in our schools but in our streets. And a young lady being hung from a noose, actually, to me, sounds like there's a little bit of mental illness going on in there. It's a lack of parenting, leadership, community. We were involved in our kids back then. And today, you don't hardly see the parents in the schools anymore to come up there and just come check in on them. The teachers have a hard way to go, especially with the low pay rate that they got. This generation today is a different beast, not an animal, beast. And we hear it in Philadelphia. We see the gun shootings from an 11-year-old picking up a gun, killing somebody, up to as far as 28. So, in my opinion, because I ran a group called the Man Cave here in Philadelphia, and we grabbed them in together to talk about these issues. I was on WRD not too long ago, a couple of years ago. and we were talking about a healthy lifestyle in Philadelphia. If I try to talk to some of my pastor friends, like, can we hit the streets and talk to these young people? I have friends in different religions and ask them the same question. What are you doing from beyond the pulpit? What are you doing outside your four walls? Let's come out and talk to the parents and see. I mean, like, we practically have a church on every two corners of a block of Philadelphia, but we have no leadership in the streets to control this. We can kill poverty and mindsets overnight if our leadership was to just come down off their pedestal and go into the neighborhoods, and we can cure this. So I just want to say, that I am an advocate of getting better with men and getting better with these young guys out here. I do make it a point to talk to some of the young men as I pass them by in the street. And if more men did that, more grown men, my generation, Generation X, I guarantee you we can see fewer killings, fewer mental illness going on in the schools, even in the homes. And I know there's a lot of single parents out there who can't handle some of this stuff, but the fathers are not there. So, just my opinion, Carol, thank you.
Well, Chris, wait, don't hang up just yet. Don't hang up just yet. Well, first of all, thank you for contributing to the conversation. But I'm so curious to know, because I did not know of the group of men that was assembled, that the group of which you just spoke, the group of you that were going out. Are you still doing so? Are you all still meeting?
We just shut down since the pandemic, but it's hard to get, for some reason, it's so hard to get men to come together. I always see women get in groups, but it's so hard to get men to come to the table and let's talk about these issues. And I'm scratching my head. And if I try to get men involved from the churches, it turns into a church service. And that's what I don't want to put the man cave into. I was holding my meetings in brain space in some of the churches, but the pastor wanted to take it over. And I'm not putting anybody out there, say pastors are bad. There's nothing wrong with church.
Sure.
But we need diversity within the streets. I don't care if you're Muslim, Chinese, white, black. We all got a problem. Our daughters and our sons are out there. My daughter is walking down the street. A guy was walking behind her one day. She had to call me from the train station on her way to work. Dad, this guy's following me. This should not be. We need more men on foot instead of these men on the corner screaming and hollering from a religious point of view. And let's come to look, we need to stop teaching people how to get to heaven, start teaching people how to bring heaven to them. And that's the problem. So I'm pushing back on trying to get the man cave back on. I am talking to men. I have some pastor friends of mine who are real cool and everything. We do our little meetings here and there. I am going back to doing my live podcast in my basement with a couple other brothers. And we're just going to have conversation, because how it starts is with a conversation. But I'm asking black men, not just in Philadelphia, across, gather one or two of them together. Let's just start talking about it and see what we can do about it.
I applaud you for that, Chris. I really do. I really do. And you're absolutely right. I was saying the same thing. I believe it begins with a conversation, because communication is key. And I know that there's strength in numbers. We all know that to be true. We've had that experience. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm hopeful that that more men do participate and contribute and step forward to join in the effort. Because, well, first of all, as a people, the black man and the black woman need each other. And we first do need to come together and be on one accord. And I mean that the black man needs to come together, and you guys need to talk, and we need to come together as women, and then we all need to get together and fix this. Come back to who we are, who we once were to one another. That's my own personal opinion. Personal opinion.
The thing is, we can fix it over time. It's not going to be overnight process. But for some reason, not to put down our culture, we find every excuse why we can't do. We are our biggest I can't.
Yeah,
and we never Step up to the plate and just do it. And I know some strong black men on here, but just to gather 2 or 3 other men together and just start having the conversation, we can control the narrative of what goes on in our streets. That's it. I mean, I'm out here in Overbrook right now. I live out here, and I meet with a couple of men in my neighborhood, and we just sit on the steps and talk at night. It can be just going to a restaurant. I have a group of men that we go to different restaurants, just sit around and talk about our businesses. He's a photographer. You know me as a chef. I was a big time chef on Food Network and everything. But I had to step back off of that. I was just at the Walnut Hill School speaking to the students there about personal growth and growth in the neighborhood. Don't let your passion just be an outlet for you to get better and make money, but show your passion to another young person. I'm passing the baton to a younger person of photography so they can take over my business. Now, but they don't pass the baton to these young people that don't have anything to do.
You know what? I'm Chris, I'm curious to know, when you guys have your conversation about what's taking place in our city right now as it pertains to gun violence, why do you guys think it is? Why do you think we are where we are right now?
Our young people don't have an outlet, and that's one of the problems. You remember when I went to Bach in South Philly. We had shop classes. We had cosmetology. We had auto mechanics. I was in engineering drafting. When the government took all that stuff out of the high school and took away the 4-H club, then took away the YWCA, start closing down the community centers, these kids have no outlet because now you got a single parent in the house who has to work 1 or 2 jobs, and the kids are at home and have nothing to do. And now you have this platform called social media. Social media is a dangerous place right now for our young people. I can stand on the corner right now and listen to the stuff that they listen to. And most of these killings, not most of them, but a lot of them are related to what is said on social media. All you got to do is say something to the wrong person. These guys are ready to go drive in their car and start shooting up. They just had a shooting in Upper Darby a couple of nights ago because of a killing of another of a family member. Another family member retaliated and shut up the place and killed the woman and shot up the whole place during a funeral repast. These are the problems. Nobody is conversating that. I'm heavy into the news of what goes on around Philadelphia and around the country, but America, I got to watch what I say because I speak out about a lot of stuff, but America has become a devil's pit for Black people. And we can't get progressed until we come together and start communicating, because we can kill us over time, but we have to come together. And it can be done starting with our men in leadership. All these pastors, Muslim, I don't care what religion you have. We need to put aside, and there's nothing wrong with the Bible and the Quran. Put that aside and look at common sense. We need to come together and fix some of this stuff so we can all have a better life and leave something behind.
Chris, you know what? Thank you for that. I want to share that Antoinette Cook. Hi, Antoinette. She shares Go Chris. She's in full agreement with what you're saying. And Heather is sharing. She totally agrees with you. There's a lack of parent participation. I really can't thank you enough for contributing to the conversation, Chris. And I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm glad that you're joining us. And I do hope you come back. I do hope you come back.
I will. You're old schoolmate, so I'm definitely going to come back.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you.
I'm more of a listener because I want to hear what everybody else has to say, because sometimes it's always best to listen and just other people so we can come together and maybe we can find a solution within our conversation. But until that happens, we're always going to be pointing the gun at each other. We're always going to be against each other. We're always going to be shutting down our Black businesses. It's time for us to start having conversations. And if the pulpit and every religion was this, just put aside the Bible for 10 minutes in the church. You have the biggest congregation on a Sunday. Why not talk about economic growth? Why not talk about what's going on in our communities? Don't just preach the word, send them home, and let them get their 6-day fix and bring them back to church on Sunday. And I can go on, but I'm not going to go there.
No, listen, I'm all ears. I'm listening. I am listening.
We definitely need a conversation. Carol, thank you so much. It's good to see you again. And I'm always talking to you singing and everything. So hopefully we'll run into each other on the street.
I hope so, Chris. Thank you again. Thank you. I do want to, family, I do want to let you know that the phone lines are still open, and feel free to continue to comment on our socials. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to go back to our socials and see what our family members are saying. So stay with us because we'll be right back.
Tune in this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. for the Islam Today show with a perspective on moral guidance and Islamic principles and values.
We know the world is crazy. There's a never-ending stream of negativity constantly flowing by our ears. We need daily reminders that joy is essential. Word Radio offsets the awful with daily words of joy and empowerment. These are on-air messages meant to uplift our spirit. We invite you, the Word listener, to share your words of joy and empowerment with us. You can read a brief poem, share a favorite inspirational quote, an empowering story, or a passage from a book. Just call 215-425-7875, extension 107, and leave your words of joy and empowerment on the voicemail. Please make sure your message is 1 minute or less. It will be helpful to use a timer to stay on track. We look forward to broadcasting your words of joy and empowerment. We are WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
What are you waiting for? If you've been enjoying the information and interviews WURD provides every day or come out to our community events, it might be time to become a member. This year marks the 20th anniversary of WURD, and there's no better time to join the Forward movement. Sign up or renew your sustaining membership at just $90 or your digital membership for just $5 a month. Join online at wordradio.com/membership or pick up the phone and give us a call at 215-425-7875. Press 4 for assistance. The time to join is now.
What am I waiting for?
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, like all the houses lined neatly together in a row, or your neighbor, Miss Rita, who always waves at you when you drive down the street, or that movie theater in the strip mall that might look a little worn down, but has the best popcorn you've ever tasted. One thing might be a little harder to notice because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. It could be your next door neighbor or your coworker or your daughter's friend from school, because over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. Hunger lives in neighborhoods all around us, but it doesn't have to. Together, we can provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com from Acme Markets, Balducci's, and King's Foundations. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
What is love?
You're listening to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
I think I know what love is.
Well, hello there, family. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Love and Life with Carol Riddick on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. So, as stated before the break, I said we'd go to our socials when we came back. And I want to share that Michael Chip Gordon is sending love and light. Hi there, Chip. Thank you so much for the love and the light. As always, you know I'm sending it right back to you. Miss Rose Captaran is sharing, wars cause father's absence from the home. Is this one of the reasons no more draft after the Vietnam War? Daddy's gone to war. The Second World War in the lives of America's children. The Second World War left an imprint on the dreams and nightmares of an American generation, not only in childhood, but in adulthood as well. The war, with its blackouts, air raids, and government rationing, became a dramatic presence in all of their lives. 30 million Americans relocated. Thank you for contributing that to the conversation. Heather was sharing that Chris was talking, and Malcolm says the Dr. Claude Anderson talked about Black economics. Alfred Evans shares that living in an ever-changing world, there must be strategic conversation, thought, and actions to the issues. We are all in agreement with that. We were stating that last week when I believe we began the conversation about a week ago. And that was one of the first things that came out of the conversation as it began, that the conversations need to be strategic. And so yeah, we're in full agreement with that. We are in full agreement. But if you have some suggestions, please do share. Alfred, share with us if you have some suggestions on what we can do and some ideas and where well, I was going to say where we start, but we've already begun because communication is key and getting on the same page, and we're all there. Miss Julie is checking in. Hi, Miss Julie. Always so good to have you with us. She shares good evening word. Chris is giving facts. When extracurricular and workshops were taken away, when extracurricular activities and workshops were taken away, crime increased. Town meetings monthly. Tired of reading, seeing, hearing disturbing news of violence in our community. It's good to know that more men are reaching out to be seen, heard, and given options that improve their lives with wages. They're lacking self-esteem initiatives. Actually, we need round-the-clock 24/7 outreach, safe zone locations. That's a family. What is your comment? Feel free to share it on our socials, or don't forget, you can also call us. And if you've forgotten the numbers, I'm going to give them to you right now. The numbers are 215-634-8065, or you can call toll free at 1-866-361-0900. Now, family, when I'm sharing stories, I don't always like to give you the negativity. I like to share some positivity with you as well. The Philly School District will pay parents to drive their kids to school to combat bus driver shortage. I'm not sure if you read this story, but it reads, parents and guardians of students in the Philadelphia School District can be paid to drive their kids to school amid a bus driver shortage impacting the city. It reads, all registered families will receive $300 per month for transporting their child to and from school. But the school district is also offering the option for families to receive $150 per month to transport their child to school in the morning, but still utilize bus, van, or cab services in the afternoon. And the one story that I'm going to leave you with, this last story, it reads, a 14-year-old girl earned her third college degree. A 14-year-old Black girl, to be specific, earned her third college degree before finishing her first year of high school. According to Black Enterprise, Anita Bennett, 14, made history when she graduated summa cum laude and received her Associate of Science from Cuyahoga Community College. Kudos to her. Congrats to her and her family. Always good and nice to read a feel-good story. So, family, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? We've got about, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 more minutes before we have our guest for this evening. But I'm curious to know, what do we do? What do we do? Where do we go from here? We've identified that we have a gun violence problem in the city. We've identified that our children have little to do. We've identified that, the plan was put in place a long time ago to separate the Black family. We've identified that. So how do we bring the Black family back together? How do we strengthen it? How do we come together as both men and women? How do the women come together and begin to talk, and the men come together and talk? And how do we come together? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Alfred is sharing. That's creative, logical. The funds saved on a lack of bus drivers can be used for the parents driving students to school. From my perspective, a great idea and a way to put more revenue in the community. Yeah, I appreciated that. I really did. I appreciated that initiative. When I first read the article, I was happy to see that they came up with that. It's helpful to the parents. It's helpful to the children. I mean, it just feels like it's a win all the way around, for the school district as well. So I was happy, really happy to read that. Yeah, I thought that is a great initiative that they came out with. Oh, you know what? One thing I want to ask you guys: are you guys wearing your masks? Have you put your masks back on? I asked that last week because I was curious to know. They were talking about the numbers of COVID rising. Are you guys wearing masks? Are you thinking about it? Are you done with masks, or what's your feeling on it? Miss Julie, I know you told me what you were thinking about it. Heather is sharing. I will say this: we have these young children, underaged, involved in so many of these incidents going on nowadays. The parents need to be added to the incidents to get more action, I think. When you say, Heather, when you say the parents need to be added to the incidents, do you mean the consequences that the children are suffering? Is that I want to make sure I'm understanding you clearly, because I may have just completely and totally messed up what you were saying, but I want to make sure I understand clearly. So Chris is sharing that he wears his mask off and on. Yeah, I'm having some difficulty. I put it on, but it just I just never seem to keep it on. I don't know. All right, we've got about 3 minutes before we go to break. I have one more thing I want to share. We've been talking about this initiative as it pertains to real estate. How these conglomerates, these companies, these organizations are buying up real estate. And the article reads that mortgage rates have climbed to their highest levels in 21 years, according to data released by Freddie Mac on Thursday. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 7%. You hear me? 7.09% over the week ending on Thursday, marking a significant increase from 6.96% the week prior. Y'all know there's another plan in play. There's a lot going on out here. So I thought that was really interesting when I read about that. There have been conversations here and there about the companies and these organizations and these conglomerates buying property and real estate, but it's been at a whisper, at a hush. But that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And now here our mortgage rates are rising. So be on the lookout. Be aware, family. Be aware. Hi there, June and Priscilla, my cousin. Hi there. So, checking in. Good to see you as well. So family. All right. What we're going to do, we're going to take another short break. And at the top of the hour, I'm going to introduce you to another magnificent human being. And we're going to have a great conversation, as always. Before we do, some of our family members are sharing. Gary Bryan. Hey there, Gary. Good evening to you. My cousin. Hi there, Wanda. Hey, how are you? And Miss Julie shares, can we possibly have a judge willing to have open court aired sessions in matters of family court? This is a real need to fix the policies in broken homes. It should not be a felony crime. Cannot pay the debt from family aid, go to jail. You know what, Miss Julie? See? Okay, I'm gonna tell you how we make out with that, because I'm going to make some phone calls and see what we can make happen. Hello there, Eugenia Turner. Shalom to you as well. Shalom. And thank you for joining us. If you have just joined us, family, you're tuned in to Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick, right here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. Taking our short break. Stay with us, though, family, because we're coming right back.
Let's face it, life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the US get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Do you need reliable internet for school, work, or other necessities? The federal government's Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP, provides up to $30 off internet bills. Families getting no-cost internet service through PHL Connected must take action to transfer their service to ACP as soon as possible to avoid getting bills. Philadelphia residents can visit getacp.org/PHL or dial 211 for more information and help signing up.
This Labor Day, we celebrate the people putting in the work to uplift our community. Tune in to WURD Radio on Monday, September 4th from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. and hear the Community Impact Award recipients share their life's journey and groove to the playlist that represents the soundtrack to their lives. Feel inspired by the life lessons of Mika Johnson, CEO of All Black Everything Pop-Up, Dr. Delana Wardlaw, and Dr. Elena McDonald of the Twin Sister Dogs, Jasmine A. Smith, founder of Icon Sports League, and our very own Troy Wilmore, technical production manager, radio show producer, and remote broadcast engineer. Also, tune in for the encore broadcast of the 2021 Community Impact Award winners, Theater in the X. That's the Putting in the Work Labor Day special, Monday, September 4th from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. only on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas. Congratulations on getting your diploma. You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know.
Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We're bringing joy and power to the people. This is WURD Radio, 900 AM and 96.1 FM, WURD, Philadelphia. Celebrating 20 years of progressive Black talk media. Streaming online at wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Let me tell you something, and don't you ever forget it. Success is nothing without someone you love to share it with.
You're listening to Love and Life with Carol Riddick on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Well, family, welcome back. Welcome to the top of the second hour of Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick on WURD. So I was explaining to you that we have an exciting guest that I want you to meet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is MINAA B. She is a writer, author, who is the founder of MINAA B Consulting, a mental health consulting practice that works with organizations to help them develop psychological safety and become mental health inclusive. She's also a licensed mental health professional and worked as a therapist specializing in treating depression, anxiety, and trauma. She also sits on the Mental Health Advisory Committee for Wondermind, a mental fitness company co-founded by Selena Gomez. Family, I invite you to the conversation with MINAA B. MINAA, how are you, lady? Did we lose MINAA? Oh, give us just a moment. There she is. Uh-oh, we lost her again. Hold on. Give us one moment. Give us one moment. You know, the devil's trying to be in the details, but he's not welcome here. So, MINAA, if you, well, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to take a moment and let that work itself out. And there, wait, there she is. There you are. Hi, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good, Carol. How are you? Sorry for the tech difficulties.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare explain. You heard me. The devil is always trying to be in the details. You know he is. You know he is. But you know, he knows he's not welcome. So he had to get on up out of here. That's all that was. That's all that was. Welcome. Welcome to Love and Life, first and foremost. Thank you for coming to spend some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't know if you were able to hear any of the conversation we were having. We were talking about everything going on in the world, and especially and particularly as it pertains to our babies, our children. And we've had this ongoing conversation about gun violence in Philadelphia because we're having a big issue with that. So we've been trying to come together and see how we can move forward. With trying to navigate this, but see if we can figure out a solution for this. But we have you here with us tonight to talk with everything that you are doing and all with which you are involved. First, I want to know if you could share with us about your book. I want to start there. I want to work around.
Well, of course I can. And so my book, Owning Our Struggles, A Path to Healing and Finding Community in a Broken World, just debuted yesterday. So it is officially on sale and you can purchase my book anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere. And it's right here on my shelf. Um, and the concept of my book really is how to heal from trauma through community care. And the reason why I wrote this book is because, so to give people a little more insight into my background, I am a licensed social worker. I received my graduate degree in social work from NYU. And while studying, I studied the clinical track, which basically means I studied more so to be a therapist. After I graduated, I worked as a therapist for about 9 years in the field, and I worked in a range of different settings from private practice to community mental health. And I also spent some years working in early Head Start, where I serviced children's ages 0 to 5 on their social and emotional development and also worked with their families as well. And one of the things that really inspired me to focus on community care is one, my own background coming from a very, very large community. And just the way I was raised, living in community, right? My own family system and how we value community. Also, being a social worker, that is really a core foundation of the work that we do. How do we keep communities together? How do we help uplift the family unit and fix the fragments and ruptures that happen within relationships as well as in our society? And so doing this work, I find that the self-help industry tends to often be very I focused. And so I'm hurt, I'm traumatized, and I'm usually working with a therapist to help them to work with them so that they can guide me on the ways that I can heal from the ruptures that were caused in my life from other people. But I think what's often missing from self-help as well as in that one-to-one work is not recognizing that traumatized bodies also traumatize other bodies. And so in the midst of you doing that healing work to figure out this is the person who caused my trauma, it's also important for you to do the self-reflective work to say, while I was in a state of trauma, who did I hurt along the way? Because now I'm healing and I'm healing in this context where I want to focus on the people who hurt me, but I'm not really being insightful to figure out, well, who did I hurt? In the midst of me not knowing better, in the midst of me struggling with PTSD, in the midst of me being dysregulated. And community care is literally being refocused and saying, how can I do the self-care work of managing my own trauma, but then bridging it to community care to be insightful and recognize how do I show up in my community and how do I build safe relationships?
I love this community care. Can
Mhm.
you actually define that for me, please?
Yeah, so community care is when we pretty much use our power, privileges, and resources to support others. And that
Mhm.
is regardless of the particular privileges that we have. So, how do we uplift communities and how do we contribute to the growth of communities? And so, we do that by looking inwardly to say, how can I invest in my community by reflecting on the power that I have? How can I engage in advocacy work to uplift my community? But also, what are some privileges that I hold that can also benefit my community members as well?
Everything you just said sounds like everything we've been talking about,
Mm.
as it pertains to, helping our babies and fixing the problem that we have. Everything that you just said. So, what when you talk about, and I want to go, I'm focused on your book. First of all, because I was reading a little bit. About it, and I was reading, when I was reading about you, when I was doing some research about you, and I was reading, about your specialties, and when you talk about, cultural healing and self-care practices, um, are you speaking specifically as it pertains to, Black people or people of color, or are you speaking, generally, just for everybody?
In reference to my book, when I talk about cultural healing, I am specifically talking to Black people around Black
Okay.
culture and
Okay.
leaning into our ancestral wisdom and leaning into our culture and practices that actually help to aid our mental health. And the reason why is because mental health in our current society can be pretty one Western focused, right?
Mhm.
And the other part of that, it is a very predominantly white field and it is a predominantly American field. And
Mhm.
I talk a lot about in my book being Black Hispanic. I'm Panamanian and Colombian. And my parents are specifically from San Andres, Colombia. So my ancestors are Jamaican slaves, right? Jamaicans who
Mhm.
were enslaved. And so, yes, we speak Spanish. We very much relate to Hispanic culture, but we also very much relate to Caribbean culture. And I know there are certain things for me in my own culture and upbringing that is extremely healing that American society may not understand. And so for me, I wanted to invite Black people across the diaspora to really reflect on their culture and the parts of their culture that can really heal them. Because in our current society, especially being someone, as I shared, is trained in mental health, there are a
Mhm.
lot of times where we might find our culture being erased from healing practices and modalities.
This is true. This is true. So I want to go back to something you said when you were talking about, traumatized people.
Mm.
It made me think immediately. I've heard this saying, "Hurt people hurt people."
Mhm.
So when you were talking about traumatized people, and you made the statement about, self-care and about them reflecting on the people that they've hurt, is this something that you practice in? Is this something that you do in your practice, with your patients, or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, go right ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was curious to know at what stage um, of therapy would you incorporate that?
Mm. The thing is, every client interaction is different,
Okay.
and so it really depends on the needs of the client and what they are coming to session for. So, to give you an example, and this is one that I actually outline in my book, I had a client who came to me who had a lot of family trauma,
Okay.
specifically with her mother. Her mom had a trauma history, and therefore it impacted how she raised her children, and particularly my client. My client now struggled with PTSD as a result of her upbringing.
Sure.
It literally was my client sharing with me that they have physically fought each other. That is how violent of a relationship that they had. However, one of the things that was happening for this particular client was she was living in a trauma response daily. Her nervous system was chronically dysregulated. And she moved through the world with a deep sense of fear that people can't be trusted. Now, if you can't trust your own family unit, it is going to be hard to find safety in the world if you can't find safety at home. And so, what was happening with this particular client is every time she had interactions with people, her fight response would kick in. So, she was very combative, very aggressive, couldn't really have a healthy conversation with her without her becoming irate and wanting to now physically harm anyone who
Okay.
pushed her buttons or brought up different difficult emotions. And so in this work with my client, there are a few things that I had to work with her through that I outline in the book. One, helping her understand her own trauma history, right? And I even share in the book that, I hear you were talking about children. This particular client, the reason why she had to come to me was because her child was taken from her from ACS. And she was mandated to be a part of therapy. And one of the things that was coming up for my client was this lack of safety in the world. But my client didn't realize that in the midst of her trying to heal and protect herself, she was still causing harm to people as well. Her anger was valid, right? She had a right to be angry, but she was displacing her anger onto people who did not cause her harm. And so when I talk about community care, what I'm saying is your trauma is valid. The things that happen to you is valid, right? And people can have compassion for you and the things that you've gone through. But just because you have dealt with trauma, it does not mean people are going to deal with harm from you because they're also trying to be compassionate. And so it's really important for us to be mindful of how our behaviors land on people because, again, hurt people. So here I am in a state of hurt. I'm in a state of trauma. My fight mechanisms are always activated, and I'm actually projecting this anger onto people who are trying to love me, people who are trying to help me, people who are trying to be supportive to me, but I don't know safety. So therefore, my guard is always up. And so that is what this work really is about. And again, it's a case by case basis, depending on the client needs. But it's really
Sure.
important for us to move through the world, remembering, thinking about the impact we also have on people despite the things we've gone through.
So you're addressing the accountability of displaced emotion in these individuals.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to make sure, I understood it correctly. Family, listen, if you have just joined us, guess what? You're tuned in to Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick, right here on WURD. And we are talking with MINAA B. We are talking about mental health. We're talking about displaced emotion. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about dealing with struggles. That's what we're talking about, a lot of things. I'm going to take a moment to go to our socials. I believe one of our family members commented. Alfred, hi there. Alfred shares, with all due respect, at what stage does a traumatized person change self-focus to focus on those that they hurt? Oh, we were in
That's
the
a really
same place. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The thing is, in order to be able to focus on the people that you hurt, you have to start doing that inner reflective work to think about the way your trauma responses manifest. And so often, again, the stage is not linear. The stage more so requires that we first and do that self-care work. So that's why my motto is self-care is the bridge to community care. So first, we have to get a client to really learn to name their emotions. We have to get a client to learn how to manage discomfort. We have to get a client to really learn to be introspective, to reflect on the wounds that they've been carrying. And the reason why is because if you have not done that work of sitting with your own stuff, it is going to be hard for you to focus on the people that you hurt because now you have to focus on their emotions. You have to focus on holding yourself accountable and figuring out, what do I now do to change, to grow and evolve and be better? But I can't grow and evolve and be better if I'm not doing that healing work on myself, if I am not doing that healing work and being introspective. And so, as I shared, everything is a case by case basis, but the goal is to always start with the client on their own stuff to help them reconcile with, one, their trauma history. So naming it, walking them through it, really helping them understand the ways their trauma responses manifest. Because for some of us, our trauma response isn't fight, it is to people please, right? And that is how we move through the world. If I self-neglect, if I self-abandon, then I don't have to deal with the discomfort of other people's emotions. And so, because I don't know how to deal with my emotions as well, maybe I feel guilty, maybe I'm in a state of fear, it's going to be hard for me to disappoint people. And so it starts off with doing that reflective work. So, I don't know if the question is like, is it by therapy session number 3? Right? Like, I can't necessarily say that. Like, but I do want people to know that it does start with that self-care piece. And when you see that client making progress and being able to name their feelings, being able to be introspective about the hurt that they experienced, then now you can invite into the conversation. Let's think about the additional ruptures in your relationships that are happening around you. Let's look at your dating life. Look at your friendships. Let's even look at your relationship with your colleagues, right? Because relationships are central to our being. And that's when you can start inviting the person into being reflective about the world around them. But first, they need to look inward.
Miss Julie, thank you for that. Miss Julie is sharing MINAA B, author of Owning Our Struggles, A Path to Healing and Finding Community in a Broken World, can be purchased at MINAAB.com/books. +1. There's also a newsletter. I love it. I love it. Hashtag. What is that?
Mindful with MINAA.
Mindful with MINAA. Oh, I love it. Miss Julie, I love Miss Julie. So Alfred is sharing, I agree with MINAA. Circumstances, conditions, and environment drive people. Oddly enough, love is what a person needs. Seemingly, a change of environment is an element of changing one's trauma. Just an opinion.
A very valid one. We can't heal from trauma if we are consistently exposed to trauma. So if my environment is a traumatizing environment, that means my nervous system is always going to be dysregulated. I'm going to pause here because I've been using that term a lot. And I have to remind myself about my clinical jargon. And I want to break that down for people who is like, what is she talking about with this nervous system? Nervous, MINAA? What are you saying? And so I want to break this down really quickly so people can really understand the beauty of our bodies. Because the nervous system is such a beautiful gift that we've been given. So we have the autonomic nervous system. And what happens is we have 2 parts to it, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And so the way the body is designed is due to social conditioning and the stimuli that we are exposed to, the brain starts to store information to help the sympathetic nervous system be on alert when we are exposed to danger or threat. So when I work with a lot of clients who struggle, for example, with community violence, if you are walking down the street or even if you're in your house and you start to hear gunshots, the likelihood of you leaving in that moment, you probably won't because you literally hear it by your door, right? The gunshot helps your nervous system know danger. There's a threat. So we need to self-protect. And so what the body will do is it will engage in those trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And fawn basically means to people please. So there are times where when our body hears the gunshot, or think about situations where like you see a group of people running. I love this joke on Twitter when people are like, if you see a group of Black people running, that means to run too. Right? Because we don't play with that.
We don't.
We do not play, right? But that is because the nervous system tells us to flee danger. But there are some people who get frozen when they are in a state of danger. And so to use the frozen mechanism, I always say, think of that scary movie that every single time the murderer is coming, there's that one person that you're yelling at because they're just staring. They're just staring there. You're like, move, run. Everybody else ran. Why are you still there? And that's because the person is stuck in a frozen trauma response. And the reason why I'm sharing these different examples too is because what's important for us to understand is that when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, which is the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, we don't choose that. Our amygdala sends an alert to the nervous system and says, you choose. Your body chooses it for you. And that is because your thinking brain, the flip has switched. And so this is also why when we're in a state of dysregulation and we see these videos on social media or TikTok where people are making really outrageous decisions and are not thinking about the consequences, that's because their rational brain literally is not functioning in that moment. Their nervous system is functioning. So you see all the time where sometimes we make really big mistakes when we're in the heat of anger. We're angry, we're rageful. And then after we calm down, sometimes we're like, why did I do that? And now I'm going to have to deal with the consequence of my actions. And so the sympathetic nervous system is literally there and hardwired in our bodies so that we protect ourselves. And it's a form of survival. It's how our ancestors moved through life, and it's how we move through life. But then we have our parasympathetic nervous system, because the body also understands we are not meant to live in a state of survival mode. You are not meant to live in a state of fight every single day. You are not meant to live in a state of freeze every single day. This is just to help you protect yourself and navigate the world. So the parasympathetic nervous system gets switched on and says, all right, we don't hear the gunshots anymore. It might be safe to go outside. All right, I don't see a running crowd anymore. Maybe the threat is no longer in the environment. So now we can take a deep breath. Now we can rationalize, right? And the thing sometimes is when we are chronically exposed to trauma. So I'll break these down really quickly. Acute, chronic, and complex. Acute
Can I stop you
trauma.
right there? Oh, I'm
Yes,
so sorry.
yes.
Because I'm looking
Yes,
at the
stop
time,
me.
but I want to hear all. No, I don't want to stop you. That's it. But I'm looking at the time. We've got to take a short break. Family, stay
Okay.
with us because MINAA B is coming back and she's going to break it down for us when we come right back.
WURD Radio is the only African American owned and operated talk radio station in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and one of only 3 remaining in the country. In the past 20 years, WURD has evolved into a multimedia, multi-platform communications company that reaches deeply into the Black community through radio, events, digital, and social media. It is considered the go-to channel to engage, interact, and connect with Philadelphia's Black community. Our brand is built on the personal legacy of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD. Dr. Lomax was a brilliant physician who established medical centers in underserved neighborhoods throughout Philadelphia to provide high-quality healthcare to Black and Brown communities for over 30 years. One of his most ambitious acquisitions was when he purchased WURD Radio. He understood the power of ownership and the power of independent media. Through WURD, he wanted to ensure that Philadelphia's Black community had the ability to speak and be heard in their own voice. We are celebrating 20 years of Black excellence. We are celebrating 20 years of progressive Black talk media. This vignette was brought to you by Comcast, United Way, and Bank of America.
Why is WURD important to the community?
Thank you for asking.
Let me count the ways.
And it's one of the most important radio stations in the country.
WURD has always been a platform for Black people in Philadelphia.
We're one of the only Black-owned talk radio stations in the country. We're one of 4 in the nation.
You know, a lot of what's going on in the world today, I think, is a result of people feeling like they don't have a voice.
Without WURD, we wouldn't have such educated, loving, caring people of color who really are interested in what's going on in neighborhoods around the city.
WURD creates such a sense of community in the Black community here in Philadelphia.
It amplifies the voices that are mostly marginalized. It allows you to speak and be heard and to create your own narrative, your own story.
It's a place where we can share our thoughts, our ideas, our dreams.
You control who and what you say about yourself.
Every community needs a hub.
We are 20 years strong, giving voice to the community, and without the community, there will be no word. We are one and the same, and it is not a game. WURD.
Operation Hug the Block. 77 nights on the most violence impacted blocks in Philadelphia. A nightly series of Peace Patrol vigils is happening right now from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on blocks with 10 or more shootings since 2015. The operation will run until November 7th, Election Day. Hug the Block is spearheaded by Jamal Johnson of Stop Killing Us and Philly Troops. To see if you live on or near one of Philly's most violence-impacted blocks, go to phillytroops.com and click on Operation Hug the Block.
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, one thing might be a little harder to notice because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. Over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. Together, we can provide 1 billion meals by 2030 because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com from Acme Markets, Palucci's, and King's Foundations. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
Celebrating 20 years of progressive Black talk media. We're bringing joy and power to the people. This is WURD 900 AM and 96.1 FM, Philadelphia. Streaming online at wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
You're listening to Love and Life with Carol Riddick on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Well, hello there, family. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Love and Life with Carol Riddick on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online. We are talking with MINAA B. And before the break, I interrupted MINAA and she was about to break it down for us. And I want to hear everything that she has to share with us. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Carol. So to pick back up, I was trying to outline for people the different forms of trauma we can experience. And so those traumas are acute, complex, and chronic. Acute trauma is when we experience one single traumatic event. And so maybe like a natural disaster or, 9/11 could be a form of one particular traumatic event, right, that took place. However, chronic and complex trauma is a little different. Chronic trauma is when someone is consistently exposed to a traumatic event. So maybe growing up in poverty can be really traumatic, or growing up with a sick parent can be extremely traumatic. However, complex trauma is when someone experiences multiple forms of traumas over a long period of time. And so I'm dealing with, I live in a state of poverty. I also live in a high crime community. I also am witnessing violence in my home. It's so many different things that is keeping your nervous system on high alert at all times. And so because of that, you're chronically in a state of stress due to the longevity of the trauma.
I feel like that sounds like the existence of Black people and people of color. That's what it sounds like to me. What was that? Wait, it was acute, complex,
acute, chronic, and complex.
Chronic. Yeah, so complex. Yes, the complex.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it sounds like to me. And as a therapist, how? I have some like 5 questions just shot into my head about that one thing. Like, how do we even begin to navigate? How do we begin to develop a sense or a level of comfort, as a people? And I love community care. I love that. I'm thinking of that community care. So that how do we begin? Okay, I know how do we begin, number one, in our healing process when it's consistent, it's constant, and it's still ongoing? And in doing so, how do we begin to let me start there. I told you I had like 10 questions. MINAA, forgive me. Where do we begin? How do we begin? Let me start there.
It's
I was like,
fine,
wait, let me
Carol. I
answer one.
mean, the concept in itself is complex, right? So I don't expect you to have an easy question.
You're like, wait, let me answer one. Let me.
I want to sit with that for a second, though, to validate what
Okay.
you just said,
Okay.
because it's hard. It's
Yes,
hard.
yes,
It's
yes, it's
hard.
just extremely hard. And especially, because we've got systemic practices at play and
Mhm.
they are ongoing. They were put in, some of which were put in place so long ago, and now they have branches to those practices. Um, so I was just curious to know, because we talk about the disconnect of our people, and we talk and how it affects our children, and what's going on with us. Like, listen, I I want to know. I want to help us. But what I'm going to do is take a moment to go to our socials. Our family members have been talking, and Alfred shares great presentation, Mina. Great presentation. He
Thank
shares
you,
great show.
Alfred.
Thank you, Alfred. He
Thank
will be
you.
listening again. I hope so. I hope you will join us again. And he shared an apology for misspelling your name
It's
in the other.
fine.
Yep. And Miss Julie shares understanding what the amygdala is. We're learning together. That's right. That's what we do here at Love and Life. We learn together. The
Yes.
amygdala is the small part of our brains, central processing center for our emotions. When it does not work as it should, it can cause or contribute to frozen in place shock reaction. Thank you, Miss Julie. Thank you. Yes, that's what we do. That is exactly what we do here. We're open, we're honest, we're transparent, and we share, because it is our hope that that we learn, but in doing so, we help someone else to learn as well. So,
Yeah.
so thanking you. So,
Thank
Nina,
you.
no, really, I mean, it's really a pleasure to have you come and talk with us, because this is such a sensitive
Mhm.
topic.
It is.
As you know, yes, as and this is what you live,
Mhm.
so heavens to Murgatroyd. God bless you. But I'm curious to know, going back to the scenario that you shared with us, with about one of your clients, one of your former clients. Um, what are some like exercises that one could do if like with dealing with similar trauma to hers in particular? Some exercises that one could do to help them through the process, and to also help as it pertains to the trauma they've inflicted on others.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So, in particular, with this client, there were numerous practices that we had to do because, as I shared earlier, this client was traumatized by her mother. But the thing was, she still yearned to have a relationship with her mom.
Mhm.
And we're currently living in a culture, and I know this is very taboo in the Black family, but a lot of people are really engaging in the work of estranging themselves from their family because of how toxic the family unit has been and how unsafe the family unit has been. And it is one of the hardest decisions to ever have to make. I know sometimes we hear it and we immediately think, well, how dare you? How could you? Without really sitting in that person's pain to reconcile and help them understand and help yourself understand what it must take for someone to finally say, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
How much they must have endured, how much they have probably tried to fix. And the reality is, we can't do someone else's healing work. And so, for this
Mhm.
particular client, one of the things that we really, really had to help her focus on was the concept of boundaries. Because, as Alfred shared earlier, right, when you are on always in a traumatic environment, right, that can
Mhm.
consistently keep you in a dysregulated state.
Sure.
And we don't realize that sometimes it's not the environment, it's the person. The person is the source of our trauma, right? It's not just the household, it's not just the neighborhood. It is literally every time I interact with this body, I am in a dysregulated state because that person's body is unsafe. And so
Mm.
the first thing I had to walk through with my client, and I think this happens so much for Black people, is this fear of losing someone or this fear of disappointing people. And so we
Mm.
people please. We feel guilty for speaking up in the family unit. And sometimes we've been told we weren't allowed to. We were told we were not allowed to have boundaries. Your emotions don't matter. You don't get
Mhm.
to talk back in this home. You don't get to express yourself in this household, right? And so when you now become an adult and you realize the importance of safe communicative relationships, it can be really hard when you realize the person can't give that to you. And so I had to help my client engage in boundary work because the thing with my client is she deeply yearned for a relationship with her mother. So she would always call her mom and then they would start arguing. And so
Mm.
one of the things I really had to help her understand was kind of twofold. What does it look like for you to meet your mother where she is? Because she is showing you what she can give you. And you are expecting more of her. And you might have to mourn the loss of the mother you wish you had.
Mm.
So, in the experience of being in a Black body, I think we have to go through the mourning process a lot. We are consistently in a state of mourning. We have to mourn our relationships. We have to mourn the relationships within our family unit. And we also have to mourn the things that happen to us in our society. And so there is so
Mm.
much grief in the context of our healing as Black Americans. And so that was a big part of her work, really learning to sit with that pain and grief before she could sit with her mom's stuff, right?
Mhm.
Because her mom
Mhm.
had a trauma history. But until, again, you sit with your stuff, it's going to be hard for you to understand your mother and what
Right.
she went through that is now causing her to raise you the way she raised you, right? Because, again, intergenerational trauma.
Sure.
And so that was a big part of our healing work, really helping my client recognize what are some boundaries you can start erecting around unsafe people, even when you share blood with them. Allowing yourself to really own that your safety matters. And I understand that you're a parent. I understand you're an uncle. I understand that you're a sibling, but you're also unsafe and you're not doing the work to help heal yourself. And you
Mhm.
keep projecting that pain onto me, and I can't tolerate it anymore. Another thing I had to work with my client on is really helping her pay attention to her nervous system responses. And so as I shared those things earlier, what she would do often is engage in a sense of hypoarousal. Now, what is hypoarousal,
You
Nina? So
what?
I talked about, right, all these terms,
Right.
right? And
What is
I'm breaking this down for y'all. I'm going to pause here really quickly to
Okay.
just say that the reason why this is so important in the Black community for us to understand our bodies is because often think about post-traumatic slave syndrome, and Dr. Joy DeGroy does such a wonderful job at breaking that concept down. But the reason why is because when our ancestors were finally free, and in quotation marks, because we know the systems in place are
Mhm.
still meant to keep us shackled, right?
Mhm.
There was no trauma healing work for someone who came from a lineage of bondage. We
Right.
are still struggling with medical racism today. So imagine what our ancestors went through when they were so-called finally free. How do you learn to engage into a free world and integrate into a free world with a dysregulated nervous system and a trauma history? A
Mm.
trauma history that your mama had, your daddy had, your grandma had, your great grandma has. Now I'm here raising a child, and a lot of us don't realize that trauma also alters the DNA. So I have a whole fetus. And because I am still in a dysregulated body and a traumatized body, trauma can alter the womb as well as sperm,
Mhm.
right? And so while that fetus is growing, I can literally be passing trauma down to my unborn child. And now this child is now born into a world with a system that is still traumatic. So I
Mm.
share this information and I have to break it down because we don't learn this in school.
No, we don't.
And our ancestors weren't given the privilege to learn these things. And honestly, in
Mhm.
today's society, the way healthcare is set up, the way therapy is set up, it's still meant to keep us ostracized and pushed out of the healing spaces.
Agreed. Agreed.
So I have to, I appreciate that there's space for me to really get into the education because I really don't understand why this isn't taught in school. Why don't we know about our nervous system? Why don't we know about our amygdala? Right. And so
Mhm.
I have to share these things too. And this is the stuff that I break down for my clients Because when you start to be in tune with your body, you are now engaging with the first responder. Your body is the first responder. And so your body will often let you know when harm is being caused, and your body will also alert you when you need to engage in mechanisms to self-protect. So those mechanisms might be, I'm going to erect boundaries. Those mechanisms might look like I need to engage in mindfulness practices. Sometimes that mechanism, especially for my client, was she actually just needed a safe space to be able to share her emotions. And that is so important because when I was working with this particular person, she was so used to being in community with other traumatized bodies. That is why her fight mechanisms were always up. She was always around people who were judgmental, people who belittled her, people who pushed her out and made her feel like she didn't belong. And so finally, here I am in a conversation with someone who's not judging me. I'm having a conversation with someone who's not belittling me.
Right.
And then you realize, and then when you listen, you hear the self-sabotage come up because I'll hear people say things like, I know I was stupid. No, let's not use that word.
Right.
You didn't know better. You were hurt. You were going through something that led you to engage in an action. And this is where that community space can come into healing, because I think a big part of our healing is having those safe spaces where we can open up and share.
I agreed. Oh, MINAA, you know I don't want to interrupt you. You know I don't want to do it, but I hate that I have to do it. Family, you already know. Stay with us. We're taking a short break, but we will be right back.
Do you need reliable internet for school, work, or other necessities? The federal government's Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP, provides up to $30 off internet bills. Families getting no-cost internet service through PHL Connected must take action to transfer their service to ACP as soon as possible to avoid getting bills. Philadelphia residents can visit getacp.org/PHL or dial 211 for more information and help signing up. The job search can be a difficult and frustrating process. WURD's Livelihood Initiative was designed to help you find the right opportunity for your next professional move. Check out these recent openings posted on the Livelihood job board at wordworks.com. Brown ShopRite and Fresh Grocer are hiring cashiers at multiple locations, and Herb Foods are hiring truck drivers, various warehouse shift laborers, and a sales representative. For more information on these jobs and many others, go to wordworks.com and learn more about the Livelihood Initiative, brought to you by WURD Radio, progressive, Black talk media.
What kind of help does the IRS have for identity theft victims?
If you suspect you're a victim of tax-related identity theft, go to irs.gov/identity theft to learn how to prevent potential refund fraud and protect your tax account. At the IRS, combating tax-related identity theft is a top priority, and we are committed to prevention, detection, and assisting victims. And we're working with law enforcement to catch the criminals. For more info, go to irs.gov/identity theft to learn what the IRS is doing to help protect you.
You were supposed to get a colon cancer screening, but stuff came up.
We did have to pick up the twins from practice.
But on the way, we hit a giant pothole.
If you are 45 and older, don't let butt stuff get in the way of your screening. Visit the Colorectal Cancer Alliance at ccalliance.org.
Need a minute? Take a breath and breathe in positivity. Here are words of joy and empowerment from WURD Radio.
To Black Women by Gwendolyn Brooks. Sisters, where there is cold silence, no hallelujahs, no hurrahs at all, no handshakes, no neon red or blue, no smiling faces, prevail. Prevail across the editors of the world who are obsessed, self-honeying, and self-crowned in the seduced arena. It has been a hard trudge with fainting, bandaging, and death. There have been startling confrontations. There have been tramplings of monarchs and of other men. But there remain large countries in your eyes, shrewd sun, a civil balance, the listening secrets, and you create and train your flowers still. I'm Delilah Wilson Scott.
This joy and empowerment vignette was brought to you by Comcast.
What is love?
You're listening to Love and Life on WURD, progressive Black talk media.
I think I know what love is.
Hey there, family. Welcome back. You're tuned in to Love and Life with yours truly, Carol Riddick, right here on WURD. I'm talking with MINAA B, and we have, y'all, listen, offline, I was telling her, I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so enjoying this conversation. Please, please, please come back and continue the conversations and talk with us some more." I was begging her, y'all. I was. I said, "We're loving you." And then I looked, I said, "Let me go to our socials because some of our family members are commenting as well." Joey Dixon shares peace. Hi there, Joey. Always nice to know that you're joining us. Hi, Miss Lily. Miss Lily is joining us as well, and she's sharing love. And Gary Bryant says, "Your guest is awesome." That's what he's sharing.
Thank
Just
you.
and I'm so glad that you're receiving this love. Gary, look at this. All this love. All this love. Joy. Yep. Yeah, yeah. And then Miss Lily shares, Sister Mina, you're speaking the truth in regard to a safe healing space and trauma healing services for our communities. So, family, I'm looking at the time, and we just have a few minutes left, but we are still welcoming your contributions to the conversation. So, if you would like to contribute, feel free to do so on our socials. Um, I'm so glad that you all are enjoying this conversation with Mina as much as I am. Because y'all see me, I'm looking at the time and I keep saying, "Oh Lord, wait, we gotta go to commercial." Wait. It's not getting all carried away. And you see me, I'm like this, huh? But before the break, I know I interrupted you again, Mina, and I'm so sorry to have done so. But I was curious to know when you were talking about that particular case. In an instance like that, would you invite, would you invite the mother or the family member of the client, with whom they're having a traumatic experience? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
so that can be an option. Well, the client would have to consent to that, right? So it's a
Sure.
conversation
Sure.
with the client. Would you feel comfortable inviting your parent to the session to really more so have a family session? However, before we get to that space, it is really important to equip the client with some tools so that they can be prepared to have that family session. So it's really working with the client to say, what are some things you feel like you would want to say to your mother? And let's do some role playing if she responds in a way that is minimizing, is
Mhm.
judgmental, is just how she normally is. How would you feel? How would you react? How are you going to respond to that? What are you hoping to gain from these sessions if we invite your parent in, right? And so it's
Sure.
really also helping that client regulate themselves enough before we invite that additional party in. But yes, I think it's really important in healing, for us to realize that if we are dealing with family ruptures, is there a space for us to have family healing through the therapeutic modality?
Sure. Absolutely. And I'm hoping that when you come back to visit us that we can really dig into that community care and how we, as a people can begin to try to heal, from now I realize, family, I understand, I overstand what I'm about to say, because I was sharing that there are systemic practices at play that are long standing. They were put in play a long time ago, but of the trauma, the chronic, right, no, complex, the
Complex,
complex trauma that we as a people are dealing with. I'm hoping that we can continue that conversation. I'm also hoping that we'll be able to talk about the book now that the book is out. We will all have some, we will have had some time to live with it and read it. But see that, look at that. You see that Miss Lily shares. Yes, Mina. The Word family would
Mhm.
love to have additional appearances from you. See, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for sharing that with her and telling her too. It's not just me. Annette Ware is sharing. Hello, beautiful ladies. Malcolm shares, just taking it all in. The trauma runs so deep, and it does. Michael is sharing, the show is very informative. Thank you, Michael. We do have just a few moments, so I'm going to go to our phone lines because one of our family members is joining the conversation. I believe it's Gary. Gary, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here, and I just want to say thank you for taking my call, and also to your guest. Your guest is awesome. She's awesome. People don't understand the trauma that we've been through, and we have not really gotten the therapy we need for a lot of the things we've encountered since being on this continent. And I want to say Dr. Joy DeGruy is right on point with that post-traumatic slave disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't understand. All of us need some mental therapy, because there's no group of people that have gone through what we've gone through and still we achieve and we're successful, but we need that therapy. I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much to your guest, and I hope you have her back on soon.
Do you hear that? Thank
I
you so
do.
much.
Thank you. That
Gary,
really
thank
means a
you.
lot.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I was telling her, please come back. Please come back. And so I'm so glad our family members are echoing, the love that I was showing to you, because this conversation, not only is it necessary, but I believe that it is a beginning to our healing process, because
Yes.
we're admitting, we're taking responsibility for our feelings and owning them and talking about it and sharing and starting the process. So and again, that's my own belief, that this is a start to that process. So I'm so glad that you came to talk with us about it, and that you shared your time and your energy, your attention, your knowledge, and your spirit, because we appreciate you so much, more than I can express in this moment. We truly do appreciate you. And you already read it, you heard it with your own ears. They said, please come back soon. So so I am hopeful and prayerful that you will do so. Miss Cheryl, hi there, Cheryl. She shares so much to process, and you're absolutely right. So much. But here we are. It's the start. I'm grateful for that. So thank you, Mina. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
I'm sharing a big word hug with you from all of our family members. So I hope you receive and feel that, and feel all of that love. And again, we're going to welcome you back very, very, very soon. So, so when you see, like, wait a minute, I was just there. Just know that we mean what we say here. We mean what we say. So we hope to see you soon, and be well. Be well, and thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Carol.
You're
Thank you. And
welcome.
I just want to end off by saying thank you for inviting me into this space and having the openness to have what can feel like a really deep and heavy conversation. And so I'm really grateful to hear the remarks people are sharing. And I would love to be back. And I hope we can all continue to learn from each other, so that we can heal ourselves and our communities.
Indeed. What better way to see that? That's why we love you, Mina. Yes, thank you. Thank you. On that note, thank you so
Carol.
much. All right. Family. Whew. Family, praising God from whom all blessings flow. As we wrap tonight's episode, you already know, you know what I'm going to say. I'm extending my gratitude to each and every one of you, every single one of you, as you continue to support love and life, as you continue to share and be open, because it's so necessary and appreciated. To all of our callers, and to those of you who contributed on our socials as well, you already know. I love you, but God loves you so much more. To the entire WURD family, especially Niall Jax and Nick Steptoe, thank you guys for all that you do. Family, remember, you know I'm going to say it, we are all in this together. You hear me? So be good to you. You be so good to you. You love up on you. But you be good to those around you as well, please. Family, have a great rest of your night. And be sure to join me Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. for another edition of Love and Life right here on WURD. I love you. Good night.